Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of a podcast to be named later, along with Brian Farrell. I'm Brian Block, and today we'll discuss your thoughts on the Phillies opening series. We'll address some listener Q&A, catch up on Phil's news. We'll do Brian's bitching, Ask Abigail, a rapid-fire fill-in-the-blank game, and debut a brand new segment that you won't want to miss. We've got a lot to get to. Brian Farrell, opening day is here, but nobody's happy.
Came and went all too quickly. It's been something else. Phils are playing right now as we speak. They're playing the Yankees. It's Monday night.
Losing.
Already losing. I missed the first inning. I turned the game on and I was like, what the hell? Here we are again. Now it's been something else, but hey, you know what? We got a long season. I'm sure we're going to dive into it more. But
Brian, what is your one word to describe the opening series?
first word that comes to mind, it's definitely disappointing. I mean, you go on that fantastic postseason run, and this whole town, you see it across the city, people wearing Phillies gear again. I mean, that whole stretch from 2012 to 2021 even, you're not seeing people wearing Phillies shirts and Phillies hats. All off season, you see it around. I remember in 08 when they won, everybody had the thing to do was put the flag in the car, right? Yep. And roll your window up and that flag, you see it all over 95, the flags flapping in the wind. But no, so you're so excited and then you start the season and just lay an absolute egg. I think credit to the Rangers. I think they hit the ball really well. I sent you a text, Brian. I was like, yeah, I think they were hitting like 500 with runners in scoring position.
That's
something absurd. So they played really well and we didn't.
My word is perplexed. And, we spent last week on our show and just generally talking about how important it is to get off to a good start. The Phillies only played 2 playoff teams or will play this first month. And yet they get embarrassed. I think it was embarrassing on national television, 2 of the 3 nights, to get embarrassed by a 60-something win team last season who has one brand name player that they just acquired. It's like the Rangers are the Marlins of the AL for the Phillies.
That would be fitting, right? A losing team that just has their number.
They could be. Now tonight, as we said, still in progress. They could easily be 1-5 after week 1. But more specifically, the fact that Nola couldn't get through 3 1/3 on opening day isn't inspiring, and it really leaves a bad taste in your mouth, especially after all the headlines last week that he couldn't come to an agreement with the Phillies and cease talks for the season on his contract. So every reason not to commit to that guy was fully on display. And, I don't want to overreact right after one start, but it's disappointing to see opening day get pissed away, by a guy who's threatening to leave the team. It's also, I don't know, ironic maybe is the right word, that all last year, Rob Thompson was so quick to make pitching changes. And here on opening day this year, his second season, he lets a 9-run inning get away from them and brings in, Soto, the new brilliant bullpen acquisition, his first appearance as a Philly, who can't get near the strike zone.
Not great. Yeah, I think your concerns for Nola are legitimate for sure. What is it? Is it the pitch clock? Is that affecting him? Is that getting in his mind? Is it messing up his rhythm? On the previous podcast, I had talked about my theory with Nola, he can't pitch in cold weather. There's no excuse. They were down in Texas. I think they got a dome down there too.
Yeah.
There's just no excuse for Nola to not go out there and be the ace that he is.
Yeah. It's like, what was spring training for if they, were trying to work out kinks with the pitch clock? It's disappointing. If you want some good news, Bohm looks better at bat. Marsh looks a little more comfortable. It's good to get Castellanos going. And if you want funny news, Gabe Kapler did it again. He, in his opening game, went to the bullpen, but forgot to warm up a pitcher. As you may recall, he did in that Atlanta opening series 3 or 4 years ago. So just everything is cyclical.
You hate to see it. You just hate to see it.
Hate to see it. So we got a question from a listener on the first episode, which was, which up-and-coming NL East team are you most concerned about this season? And to me, up and coming, the Mets are already there. The Braves are already there. You really have 2 options to pick from, Miami and Washington. Who, if either, are you more concerned about so far?
For me, it's definitely the Marlins. The Marlins have a fantastic pitching staff. I don't know if you were listening to ESPN had two broadcasts of the game last night, and on the one, I think it was on the main one on ESPN, they interviewed Bryce Harper, and Bryce is talking through the starting pitching that's in this division. It's just incredible, especially the Marlins. The Marlins have a better pitching staff than we do, starting pitching at least. They're fantastic. They're pitching alone. Plus, the reputation for the Marlins to just bring up these young guys and have them turn into studs. You see it time and time again. I mean, but the Nationals too also have some young talent. But for me, answers the Marlins with that pitching staff.
Yeah, and they added Segura, who I do kind of miss as a clubhouse presence, the energy there, and Gurriel from the Astros. So both of whom have playoff experience. Not particularly concerned, but I agree with the Marlins. So since we last recorded, a few pieces of news. Seems like Harper will be back maybe sooner than anticipated. Hoskins unfortunately had his surgery March 30th, is done for the season. This was the final year of his contract. And then, of course, Nola has ceased contract talks for the season. They couldn't come to an agreement. Brian, first, have we seen the last of Rhys Hoskins as a Philly? And if so, how will you remember him?
Great question. I think we have, unfortunately. Just this team has spent so much money at other positions, and Rhys, while he was a great player, and he was here through the rough days when this team was going nowhere fast. It was the Rhys Hoskins and Scott Kingery show for a couple seasons, and it was ugly. And Rhys was the one shining spot that we had. I don't think he's coming back. He didn't provide enough for me for what he's probably going to get paid by somebody else. I could see him going to a club in the AL, being a rotational first base, playing against lefty pitchers. They just spend so much money on other studs, and you look at Castellanos as eating up a ton of money and giving you nothing. They don't have the money for another big contract that Rhys deserves.
He and Nola are really the only two homegrown talents of this organization. And you look at, Hoskins, right, end of his contract, and Nola potentially walking. It is kind of striking that the rest of this roster had to be rebuilt through, as you said, high contract, price free agency and otherwise. Ideally, that's not the balance that you want for a winning team, right?
True. But I think they got a couple young guys Bryson Stott's hitting the ball pretty well right now. And like you mentioned, Alec Bohm. Bohm his trajectory is heading up. So we're kind of really counting on those young dudes to continue to take steps in the right direction.
How much of the struggle so far from this first week do you think are attributable to just, World Series hangover, maybe not really ready to get in the swing of things with the shortened off season, versus having the clubhouse presence of Hoskins, of Harper, of Segura not there? Those were three of the really intense brand name clubhouse guys.
Yeah, those were definitely like bigger personalities on the team. Bryce is still there. He's in the dugout. He's with the dude. So that's some positive energy. Gene, I love Gene. He's
giving snarky interviews to Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Gene was just he was always himself, and I think his teammates really appreciated that. This team needs to find out who they are again. I think they brought in a couple big pieces, and we're going to see how Trey Turner fits in here, not just where he's in the lineup, how he is in the field, but how he is in the locker room as well. So it's going to be really key to see his type of leadership and the role that he brings.
I agree. Not the start anybody wanted. And, we talked last week about getting off to a hot start against bad teams to get that chemistry going, and it doesn't seem to be there right now. Okay, let's go to everyone's favorite segment, Brian's bitching.
Oh, Brian's bitching. Yeah. This has bothered me for a long time, and it bothers all of you listeners too, I'm sure. But it's the schedule of primetime games and the time slots that they're in. So tonight we're recording this on Monday night, like I mentioned. It's the college basketball national championship game. Guess what time tip-off is? 9:20 p.m. on a Monday. It's not like it's a Saturday night and people are staying up late. the rest of the country has to work tomorrow. So, and I got some stats for you. I looked up on Reddit. 47%
the foremost authority on statistics.
Yeah, exactly. If it's on Reddit, it is true 100% of the time. 47% of the US population is in the East Coast. And these games are starting at 9:20 p.m. I'm asleep by halftime most of the time. It'll be 11 o'clock will roll around. I'll be out. I'm watching the game on my phone in bed, and I'll fall asleep, and I'll wake up tomorrow morning and I'll be like, oh, who won the game? It just, and it's not just college basketball. It's football too. Monday night football and Thursday night football. These are weeknights, work nights. We got to get to, I don't know. I can't imagine how those of you that have kids out there too. But there's no way you're staying up for the end of this game. And what would you rather miss? Somebody on the East Coast missed the fourth quarter, or somebody on the West Coast missed the first quarter. It's a no-brainer to me.
Well, no one on the West Coast is even watching.
They don't care about. They're smoking weed. They're out there. They don't give a shit about baseball or any sport. Fair weather fans. But so speaking of game times needing to start earlier, the Phillies did something. They changed up their schedule a little bit this year. So their home games are going to start at 6:40 p.m. So not the the Sunday and Saturday day games.
The weeknight games.
Yeah, weeknight games are going to start at 6:40 p.m., which is kind of fun. So they didn't want the games to end after 10 p.m. But it's kind of funny because baseball just put in the new rules to make games quicker. So I think the average game time has been like somewhere around 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing some Phillies games, if their game goes by quick and it's over by maybe even 9 p.m. this year.
Yeah. Anything before 9 feels too early.
Way too early, right? So it's like they did this the one year that they shouldn't have. They should have done this 2 or 3 years ago and then change it back to 7.
Yeah.
But with the new rule changes, I mean, there's been all sorts of issues and controversies. Is there anything that you like so far, a rule change that you admire or a rule change that you hate?
I know this is your bitching segment, so I'm going to try and find a positive. No, I'll say this. I don't mind the game moving faster. I didn't mind the longer game either. To me, if I'm going to watch a game and it's 2 hours and 40 minutes or 2 hours and 55 minutes, doesn't make a difference. What I'm annoyed about is the fact that it seems as though the Phillies weren't prepared for the rule changes. Like Wheeler looked completely flustered. Nola looked completely flustered. Like Wheeler, I think, took 2 balls on purpose. Like he let the clock run down intentionally, took the ball just to give himself some extra time to collect himself. And I think like these rules it wasn't a secret. Like it's not like they unveiled them to the other 31 teams and like someone didn't tell the Phillies. So like I don't understand what they were doing across spring training. Like that they should be this far behind seemingly all of the other teams, a week in. Like to have your 2 aces starts ruined by this just leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. So I appreciate the game speeding up, but I'm frustrated with how it's been applied at times and certainly how the Phillies have reacted to it.
Yeah. Fortunately, that feels like par for the course for the Phillies too.
Yeah.
It's just late.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone's second favorite segment is back for another week. Joining us now on the Zoom non-paid subscription hotline, our good friend Abigail Miller for Ask Abigail. And I see her coming in now. Ab, what do you have for us?
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Tonight, I'm going to kind of turn the tables on you and ask you both a question. So our topic this evening is aesthetically pleasing fields. So for those
aesthetically pleasing fields.
Yes.
Okay.
So for those who may not be so invested in the actual sport of baseball and, are oftentimes forced to have it on the television, want something pretty to look at. So we want to see what those talented grounds crews have to offer. And so my question for both of you is name the worst and name the best. So thinking of the turf, thinking of the florals, what makes it pretty? Tell me what you got.
You want to go first, Brian, or you want me to go?
You go.
I don't know about pretty. When I go to a ballpark, I'm not necessarily looking at pretty, but you look at the field and it can take your breath away.
You're missing out.
I think there's only one answer here for best ballpark, and maybe Brian, you might agree. It's Citizens Bank Ballpark. With the grounds crew that they have, they do a fantastic job. It's not one of those grounds crews that they're in a dome, right? They don't even have to worry about rain delays. They're out there. And remember that clip from 2000, I want to say 2008, maybe 2007, and the Phillies were the grounds crew was rolling the tarp out on the field. It was pouring rain, and the tarp got flipped up. And I think it was Shane Victorino runs out onto the field and helps the grounds crew bring the manage the tarp. No, that's the best one. And the worst one for me, I think it's Nationals, the Nationals Park. I don't even know the name of that park, but I've never been, but I've heard many stories. I've heard it smells like absolute trash. It's the Nationals, so they're a joke of a franchise. They have to be the worst one.
The name is Nationals Park, and I think I agree with you. I'll say this: the worst field, the Super Bowl field from this year.
Oh, good
and
answer.
Frankly, I don't even remember what it looked like, but anyone who is associated with that absolutely gets whatever the worst. They can all go to hell. Nats Park is just an ugly stadium. And it's a newer stadium. It's within the last 15 or 20 years. And I, full disclosure, lived there for many years, went to hundreds of games in that stadium. And everyone there who I guess had never been to an MLB stadium before, because I didn't have a team there, was like, wow, what a beautiful stadium we have here. This is so great. And it just couldn't have been a more boring, like steel, concrete, bland edifice with just nothing special about it, other than just surrounded by parking lots and a dirty, smelly river. So I never got it. Yeah.
So many beautiful parks across the country. That's not one of them.
Not one of them.
Okay.
I'll shout out then my hometown. Pittsburgh has a great park because you have the river in the background. Granted, I've been to probably 4 parks, so it's not saying much, but Pittsburgh has a nice one.
It's one of the best.
PNC has a fantastic view. I think it's the best view I've seen from any sports.
It might be the best one. It honestly might be.
Mm-hmm.
Ab, good segment.
Thanks, guys.
We're now going to debut a new segment. I want to set this up a minute while we bring in our other special guest tonight, our friend Jill Donahue. And this is a true story. So we have a friend of a friend who recently consulted a psychic. And the psychic, the question was regarding, love and life and guidance and everything. And the psychic told our friend that she was going to meet her partner not on an app, but at a game or at a park. Again, this is completely true, but wasn't able to give any further detail. So it kind of got us thinking as to, well, looking for love in baseball stadiums or other games. And so we asked some of our friends for some of their best dating stories related to sports. And we're calling the segment Striking Out. It'll be a recurring segment. And Jill, do you want to talk to us about our first striking out submission?
Yes, and I don't know if we want to say best stories because this one would not count as a best story. So yes, striking out. Welcome to the inaugural session. So this is the segment where dates at the Diamond go wrong. So I'm just going to dive right into our first anonymous story. I was excited to go on a first date on opening day with this girl I met on Hinge who said she's a big fan of, we're redacting the team name for privacy. We met for a drink beforehand and then had a couple more drinks at the game. First off, we're already on an expensive date. Around the 5th.
We don't know where the seats were though. Although opening day, you can assume there's some money.
Multiple drinks at a ball game already. You're pretty expensive. Regardless. Around the 5th inning, I noticed she seemed a little out of it and was telling me the same stories over and over again. I asked if she wanted to leave or to go get a bite to eat. She said she was just going to make a trip to the bathroom. But when she got up to use the restroom, let's just say it was very obvious that she had already gone. I get that people get nervous for first dates, have anxiety, or sometimes just overdo it. But this seemed like a lot. We've actually been texting since the game, and she proposed that we go to another game together and said our relationship is like the movie Fever Pitch, which is cute, but I don't know about a date number 2.
I don't remember Drew Barrymore's incontinent scenes in Fever.
Oh my god.
What?
Is
So-
Jill, is that how it leaves off?
That is how it leads off. So date number 2 is
It was
what.
the second date. Wow.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, first off, the fact that this girl is even interested in another date means either she has all the confidence in the world, or she was so drunk that she doesn't know she pissed herself.
I don't think she knows. I don't know that she knows.
I'm gonna spin zone it. I think she liked him so much she didn't want to leave to go to the bathroom. She wanted to be by his side.
Wait, no, but she told him that she was going, but she told him she was going to the bathroom, right?
Yeah, well, maybe she meant to go to the bathroom to mop herself up. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. So, I mean,
Poor girl.
I think kudos to the guy, assuming this is a guy, right? For like entertaining the idea. I think most people would really just like shy away, but they've been texting, they've been, he's entertaining the idea of a second date. I mean, if this was me, if I was either of these people, I would just move out of the city. Like I'm not chancing it. But I mean, he seems like, I'm impressed that he is like entertaining the idea. So I think if he likes her enough to make it through one game with this disaster, continue talking to him, I say go for another date. You've already been chatting with her.
Ab, if this happened to me, say it was our first date, am I getting a second date?
Hell no.
See, but you could have missed on a beautiful
maybe.
relationship.
You never know.
Maybe he is hiding something. Maybe he did something even worse. And he's like, well, this isn't that bad compared to what I've done.
True. We're only getting one side of the story here. I think we need to hear from this girl and hear her side.
If you're the pisser and you're aware of it, feel free to write in for next week's show.
Or
Wow.
if you yourself
Good
has
luck.
pissed yourself at another game, write in and we'll talk about it.
Wow. Okay. All right. So we're saying, Jill, you're a yes. Date number 2.
Yeah, go for it.
Ab, you're a
Good for
no.
you.
Oh, no, I'm going to say yes.
You're a yes, Brian.
Nope.
You're a no.
I'm a no. You can't.
Okay.
Nope.
God, yeah, I don't know. I say, listen, the segment's called Striking Out, but let's let love win here. I say give it a try again and see.
Let love win. There we go.
If you have a story for striking out or reaction to this story, feel free to leave it in the comments for the episode. We'll get to it on a subsequent episode. And if you have a question for Ask Abigail or a question for Ab to ask us, feel free to comment as well. We're going to wrap tonight with a fill in the blank rapid fire game.
Hold on, I have a quick interruption.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, a needed wellness check on Brian Block over here. So after the last episode, you were very loud and clear that you were still listening to archived episodes of Angelo Cataldi, and we needed to check in on you. So what's your status?
Well, first, I appreciate the wellness check, first of all. 2, let me just say, Joe Girardi's still managing in half of the episodes that I'm listening to.
Oh my gosh. Fire Girardi.
Fire Girardi. Yes, no, still happening. We're still in the weaning process. I'll provide updates on this too if people are interested. But thank you, Jill, for the wellness check. Now we will conclude with a rapid fire fill in the blank game. I'm going to ask all 4 of us for one word to fill in the blanks that we can hopefully look forward to this Phillies season. Bri, we'll start with you and we'll go around. The Philly with the most home runs this year will be?
I think it's got to be Kyle Schwarber. He had 48 last year, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a couple other guys on the team that I could maybe see putting up over 40, but Kyle Schwarber's got to be.
Ab?
Real Muto.
Ooh.
Jill?
Schwarber was mine.
I agree with Schwarber. The Philly with the most saves this year will be?
I'm going to go Alvarez. I said him in the first episode. I'm going to stick with him. He's my guy with the slider.
Ab?
New guy Soto.
New guy Soto. Okay, Jill.
Dominguez?
Yeah,
Yep,
I
Sir
agree.
Anthony.
Sir Anthony. Yep. The Phillies player most likely to make you say wow this season.
There's a couple different directions you could go with this, right? I'm gonna go with Nick Castellanos, and not a good wow. It's
Not a
going to
good
be
wow? Oh boy.
wow.
Ab-
Really, how many years has he signed for?
Wow.
I'm gonna go again with Real Muto.
Jill.
Mine's Brandon Marsh, but it will never be about his playing and always about his wet hair.
That's a good answer.
And what kind of wow does that get?
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, is that more of an ew?
Wow.
I thought Bohm, and then when I saw his homer in the first game, I'm doubling down. I think he's going to have a great year. It's Alec Bohm. Two more. The best player off the bench this year will be
Edmundo Sosa. Love him. You can play anywhere.
Ab.
Jakey boy.
Jake Cave. Bold pick. Jill.
Sosa.
And then finally, blank. So we're looking for a number here. Will be Nick Castellanos's batting average in this, his maybe redemption season, Brian.
Batting average 246.
242.
Hot take, 305 and lead the league in doubles?
I would love
Wow.
it.
All
I
right.
would love
Lead the league in doubles.
He can do it.
305. I think that's a positive way.
Very early in the season, things happen.
I think he's batting like 400 right now. So,
Yeah.
small sample size, but okay. I was going to say 280, but I like 305 better. We'll leave this episode on a positive note as the Phillies look to bounce back against the Yankees this week, home opener on Thursday. We will see all of you weekend after next. Thanks for watching. And as always, message us with any comments for future episodes. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.